All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Tellor community call, um, February 16th. So I'm sure you guys are going to have plenty of questions. So we're just going to get started with it. So kind of the big thing is, as far as what we'll go over first, is what kind of happened. And then we'll talk kind of what we can do about it, and then answer all of your questions. Start off with some of the frequently asked questions we've had in the chat and go from there. To tell you guys what happened, most of you know that we were doing kind of a hot fix on Tellor v 2.6. This was, we had found an issue in the mining code that we were fixing, and we had to put it through to a vote to fix it. We were doing so relatively quickly because the system was basically, the difficulty was increasing. The difficulty basically wasn't being used in the system. And it basically made mining into a gas race, because it's definitely not something that we wanted it to be, and we needed to fix it. So we came up with, we deployed the fix, and since we were fully decentralized, it had to go through the vote. Another actually really successful community vote. You guys rallied, all voted. I know a lot of you voted, and we definitely thank you for voting. But then once we upgraded, we actually found out what happened. So instead of upgrade, the way that the Tellor system works is we use a delegate proxy contract. So long story short, you have all of the, one smart contract holds all of the Tellor storage. So this is like who holds the balances, what all the values are, but then how you update that storage is all of the functions over here. Whenever we upgrade the contracts, the storage stays the same. That's how you always have the same token address, even if the functions change. Whenever we upgraded to a new address, we change whatever these functions are. And we did that. Unfortunately, we changed it to a non-valid Tellor address. And what happened is it messed up. It basically froze the token. So now you have all of these balances and things like that, but they don't know how to update themselves. So whenever you call a transfer, it doesn't know the proper function. It was a process error on our part. We messed up. We had checks in place, and unfortunately we relied a little bit too heavily on Etherscan for some things, and it bit us. We're sort of identifying how we have identified things that we can do in the future to sort of make sure that this doesn't happen again. But long story short, now you have all of these balances, everything in the contract, but you cannot manipulate them. So meaning you can't transfer, you can't upgrade, you can't revert, you can't do anything. So the contract state is frozen. It's, not to minimize it at all. It is better than somebody being able to steal the money, thank goodness. But it's not good. That said, what is kind of the solution? So the system's frozen. We've reached out to the parties that are using us for their Oracle. This is, that was kind of our first concern, because they rely on us for data. And luckily, most of the projects that at least we know of that actually work with us, you set in place to have fallback mechanisms, and we tell them that you should always assume that your Oracle can fail. Usually that's something we say as a reason to get them to use Tellor. But in this case, luckily that most of them have good processes in place to make sure that values work, because you can still access the older values. There are no new values kind of being updated, so we have to make those fixes in the system. And we're leaving them what they're doing. I think as far as the next piece is handling the token holders, we contacted all of the centralized exchanges, since they can't transfer in or out. Most of the centralized exchanges responded and said, cool, that means we can still trade your token, since it's all just frozen, which is true. So there's just no withdrawals or deposits on the token, but they're still trading the token. That's how the price has actually been changing, and you can still trade it on centralized exchanges. So, if you don't see, like, if you saw like the vast majority of our volume is on Binance and they haven't frozen it, that's because they hold probably 30% of the PRB and they just leave it on there, and you can still trade it around. You sort of net it all out.
Yeah, they weren't phased at all when I talked to them about what we're going to have to do, and they're like, "Oh, we do this all the time for projects," and they didn't see it as a necessary thing to stop trading, and and so we just, all we had to do was let them know what the process is that we're going to go through and do, and they're confident in their process of doing a swap, so we think it's going to be okay.
Yeah. So, and now kind of the technical solution. So we needed to think right away, and we jumped on really quickly as far as what we would do next. Basically, since it's frozen, we can't save that address. So the token address of TRB will change. We have to redeploy a new Tellor system. And then for those of you that have done similar things in the past, you will then go and claim the token. So we can read your balance. So the last balance that you had on the Tellor token will be your new balance on the new Tellor token. And we're working to come up with a solution where either you'll run a function or we'll run a function for you that will place in your wallet. And it should be as simple as that. The more of the technical challenge comes in is, so the Tellor system, it should theoretically be really easy to upgrade a system instantly, but to redeploy the system. But since Tellor had kind of such a long history, there were a lot of pieces that don't simply just, you can't simply just redeploy them. You have to have you have to initialize a bunch of variables, and we have to make sure that the system's ready to kind of pick up right where it left off. So those are some of the technical changes that we're making. Just we're not changing any of the logic in the system. We just want it to be having it to where you can redeploy it in the simplest manner without going through some of the other pieces. So that said, we've created a new repo, Tellor 3, on our GitHub. Check it out. Note, it is not final as of now. We've been working on it for a day, but we're still testing it. The current timeline for that is we're going to finish testing the contracts today and tomorrow, and then have it up on RinkB on Thursday, and then deploy it Friday. So hopefully by Friday, the plan is on Friday that you guys will be able to have your new tokens. Like we said, we're not necessarily, the only piece we're really adding is the token swap piece, so it should be a simpler piece to add, but just making sure that we have in a lot of the kind of the necessary steps to make sure that the Tellor system can also function for actual users, and make sure that we don't have a hack again. The one thing that we are doing to make sure, so we're going to go over some questions, but we want you guys to know that your tokens are safe, and we're going to do what's necessary to make sure that you get them back. Some people have a little bit more. You're not just holding your tokens in a wallet. The first thing that came to mind was people who are holding it in Uniswap pools or balancer pools. Not only are the tokens there, but there's also some ether that's locked there, and we're gonna make you guys whole. So definitely. It might not be on Friday, but reach out to us. I think every situation is different because we want to make sure that you own those tokens. And, there's some people that have them in very specific contract wallets, and they have their tokens locked in different things. And we're going to make you whole. Just reach out to us. So that's it. How we're going to make you whole. So we're implementing the deity again in this contract. The deity is the admin key in the contract. We're going to kind of have the ability to change things around to make sure that we make people whole and that we get things going. So that said, we know it sucks. So we do apologize, and we're going to be working hard. If you have any questions, though, we're trying to stay active on Telegram. We're trying to stay active on Discord. Just feel free to ping me or Mike or Brenda or Ilari's been great. And then hopefully this video, you can point people to and answer some questions. Other things kind of on, yeah, I think those are most of the big pieces.
Yep.
If we want to, I think Brenda, you have a list of questions that a lot of people have asked, and we can kind of go over those and then answer some more.
Yeah, yeah, we'll start off with those. The very first one that obviously, and Nick might have already sort of addressed this, but it's basically, can I lose my TRB? And basically, we're able to read all of the balances, and we're going to be able to reinstate basically your balances. And as Nick said, we will work with you guys for whoever had them on pools or on different types of contracts to make sure that you get all of your value out of it. Do you need to do something right now? Right now, there's really nothing that you need to do. Once we redeploy on Friday, or at least that's our target date, we will notify everybody and we will have a process in place. Either you call a function to claim your tokens, or we'll work with you to make sure that you get your token back and whatever locked value in there within the token. If I have my TRB on an exchange while there or are any actions required at this moment, no. We will be providing you a more clear process once we finalize the contract today or tomorrow. And yeah, that's pretty much. And
The exchanges should handle it for you.
oh yeah, for the centralized exchanges, they should handle it for you. That shouldn't be an issue, because they do keep your balances and they just have basically a big pot of the tokens, and they'll just be able to get them from us. And Nick already went through what happened. Do you want me to go again, Nick? Or
I think it's okay.
and then
You can just do it in a nutshell. That way we can sort of timestamp when you start this process. So for people that want to skip over him, they could just go right to you.
what?
So yes, explain it in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Okay, so basically every time that we so I don't know, I'm gonna go back through whatever Nick said, but
I guess you
basically
can. Maybe
we
you really
upgraded to a contract that where the functionality that used to exist does not exist. So now when we call a function, nothing happens, but all the storage is intact, because that's the way that our mechanism works, so that we can upgrade our logic without changing the actual balances and storage. But that's basically what happened. It went to a contract where we cannot access the functionality. We can only see the values as of now. So that's why we have to fork. And we are, we're really sorry about this. I know everybody's probably really worried, but at the same time, I think, everybody's going to be able to get back their tokens, and we're working around the clock to be able to make this happen as soon as possible.
And then
Yeah, things are going to be okay. It's really, really frustrating for us. I mean, I think that's probably our team's biggest emotion about it is it's just frustrating to have to sort of knuckle down and get this thing fixed in a week, and sort of just it delays what we had planned, but hopefully 2 weeks from now, this will be completely behind us and we'll be better off for it. And I mean, we definitely will be stronger for this. Like all our processes that need to be adjusted will be adjusted, and we will have gone through something like this. Eventually we'll be probably doing another fork when we do V3 at some point. And so we'll look back at this experience, and we'll have learned a lot on how to do a token swap and that kind of thing. So
yeah, so we got a message in the chat. I can answer quick. So it says, what measures should be in place to prevent something from like this happening in the future? Did the focus on Chorus take some attention away from the core Oracle product? Does it make sense to rethink the strategy when a core product suffers from spreading yourself too thin? So I think that's fair criticism.
it's a good question.
I think we can sort of look at it internally. I think probably the bigger thing that sort of, this was kind of what we liked, we were even calling it a hot fix, as far as it was a faster upgrade than usual because we had identified a problem in the code and it was a very simple fix. Unfortunately, the process is, we had sort of overlooked some of our normal rigor in testing out some of these, such as their deployment process. One thing you'll also notice in the new, so we had kind of, JG's not here to talk about it, but some of the old, the Tellor contracts, there were a whole lot of contracts and a whole lot of libraries and dependencies, and especially when you looked at testing them across upgrade patterns, it was almost overwhelming for most people who weren't the core team that had the core software to even be able to go test these things and check them out. It was, even auditing teams had said that the complexity was getting out of hand. We're taking this opportunity though. That's why we started a new repo. We've drastically simplified just the structure of the code, not necessarily the internal workings. And then since we are redeploying from scratch and not going through the whole, upgrading from V1 to V1.5 to V2, there was a whole lot of upgrades along the way. And you would have to keep track of those because they were all state changes. Now we won't have any of that, so it'll be much easier for kind of external people who maybe aren't professional auditing firms to lending a hand with some of these processes. So I think that's definitely one of the bigger.
Cool. Another question from Iconium. What has been the reaction of the customers? I think this is the most critical part. Lose some of them. We don't expect to lose anyone. The interactions we've had over the last 24 hours from them have ranged from them just wanting to know when's the next time they'll be able to get a feed update, and that's pretty much all they're concerned about is when will we be back online. And the other, we've had people express basically just understanding, that, one group said that they can imagine it's really stressful and frustrating, and they sort of understand what it's like to go through a bug in their system. And so it was just really nice that we have not had any sort of major backlash from our users or customers that are integrating us right now. That's good news. And that was the first thing on our minds too, is we want to make sure that people still have trust and faith in sort of what we're doing, in our security and everything like that. So I think if they see after this week that by Friday we're most of the way there, and we're back online at least and getting price updates, that I think that'll be a good sign how we react in a sort of crisis scenario.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think so. The big thing that will probably stick with us through this is going to be, like sometimes teams have bugs and it's usually really hard. So, whether it's like really good teams have had bugs, as long as it doesn't become a thing where we, get known as a team that's lax on security, I think we'll be okay. This was kind of the first one we're really fixing. I think
if you get hacked, okay. If you get hacked again and again, it's just like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, so. And then, but also just how we handle this as team, how we handle this as a community in general, is going to really speak a lot. Whenever you have these kind of moments of adversity, it really shows what you sort of value. We are bringing back the admin key, but hopefully, really very, very shortly, we want to get rid of it again.
Yeah, that's just a temporary thing.
Our vision has always been full decentralization, and we want to build the project so that way it can be more transparent, and we want to look at it to say, like, where can we maybe reward community members more for code reviews? Where can we have better participation in some of these votes so that way, like we can catch these things. You don't want to be a team that's just, also a lot of bug fixes, you hear about it post-mortem from the team, and they fix everything in a centralized manner, and you have no idea what happened, and you have no sort of ability to take a look at it. We don't want any of that. We want people to understand that we messed up here, and that how we fix it is going to be part of the community process. We want to know what you guys think on every step of the way.
Cool. We have a few questions in the submissions. A few of them we've touched on, but let's just run through them real quick. How are we going to handle the swap of how are we going to swap our TRB if not stored on an exchange? We're going to have a nice front end we're going to put out, so it's as easy from a user experience perspective as possible, like almost like a one button thing. Like you mentioned, if you have your TRB locked in some sort of exotic contract, it's going to be probably a more manual process that we're going to work directly with those individuals on. But I think from the majority of you, you're going to be on an exchange, it's going to happen automatically, or you're going to have your TRBs on a ledger or in a MetaMask or something like that. And for that, you're going to come to a migration website, and it's just going to be a matter of doing a transaction, adding a new token to your MetaMask balance. So it should be really, really simple.
Yep. And, we'll walk you through that probably on next week's call.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you need help with the gas fees or anything like that, definitely just reach out to us.
Yep.
Hopefully, we're going to be trying to do this in as minimal gas way as possible, but at the same time, especially depending on how custom your situation is, or what gas prices are like on Ethereum at the time, we want to make sure that you guys don't suffer.
Yep. If all balances are on hold, why is there trading activity?
Centralized exchanges.
There's centralized exchanges, they can do that, sort of keep track of everything that's happening, and then sort of swap everything out when the time comes. When will you anticipate a fix? We're looking at Friday for the bulk of the fix. If redeployment, okay, so if you're going to redeploy, how will you ensure that all token holders not on a centralized exchange are properly credited? We have access to all the balances, so it's very easy for us to see how much you have at your wallet address. How long will this take? Again, once over the next few days, we're going to get it all redeployed, and then the swap process will be just something that rolls out as people have time to do it. What future advancements do you plan to make in the next few years? Unrelated. I think this is unrelated to this.
Yeah, I mean,
three plans.
This goes into, like obviously the current Tellor system is not the Tellor system that we want. We know that we'll probably be, we're having this fix now, and it's going to be to fix mainly getting back to where we were a week ago. But from the long-term perspective, it's going to be a lot about how do we function on multiple chains? How do we function in a way that really makes sense for where DeFi projects are going to be building? Because unfortunately, Ethereum's filling up and it's really expensive. So I think the biggest changes over the next few years are going to be just being that oracle that works on a bunch of different chains, and then we can go from there. So I think, and we'll tease a talk. So next week we're going to be we'll be talking the bug and how to cash out your tokens and things like that. And then the following week, so if you guys know, I do a tech talk every month. We'll be doing a Tellor Vision talk, where we'll talk about just team's kind of overall vision for where we're going to go, and it should be a really good one. So tease that one.
Yeah, I guess I do one of those every few months because it changes.
Well, I don't necessarily think it changes, but it's like we haven't done one in probably a year.
Yeah,
a while.
While we know bugs and swaps are a thing in development, this is the second time we've had to experience a swap. How does this team intend to handle the PR after this? Will we get some user announcement or increased marketing? No, this is the first time. This is the first time I'm pretty sure that we've done a swap. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. You might be referring to
V2, maybe.
like having to do a big upgrade, but that was these upgrades are part of the system. How do we handle PR after this? I think we're gonna play that by ear. I think if we get this thing up and fixed really fast, it's gonna be the PR hit if there is one, is really just gonna be in our discussions with our user base and the people that are working to become users. And that's best done, directly with them. And that's been going really good so far.
Yeah.
The only real negative PR hit we've seen has been with the Chainlink crowd on Twitter. And that's been the case since the day we launched the mainnet. They've been, just haters, but that's Twitter. So I think what we'll do is we can be really proud of ourselves once this is completed. And that'll be a feather in our cap. And that's something that we can always point to. If the SEC takes down your company, there's no way to, in a decentralized way, recover from something like that. But for us, if you have a bug in your decentralized protocol, like we can show as a community that we can fork it, we can make it work as a decentralized group of people. And these are the type of problems we have to deal with. We have to deal with bugs and cumbersome processes, but I'd rather deal with those problems than how to decentralize. It'd be a possibility for some people. Anyway, thanks for your questions. That was it. There was just a few.
Once again, we're kind of sorry that everything like this is going on, but we're gonna come out of it. In the meantime, what you can do, point people to this video, help moderate the channels. There can be a lot of kind of FUD going around, and just make sure that we keep it civil, and especially for maintaining the image that we want to keep. If you're a developer, go look at our code. Help us test it, give it a run. Let's make sure that we continue to do this, and reach out when you do. Give us a thumbs up. Like if you're a person that enjoys auditing code or even looking at it casually, let's make it a thing that we get you doing this all the time. So thanks for coming, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys can.
Yeah, Spuddy's here. He said that you can chat with him. There he is.
Yes. So anyway, thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you later.
Tell them that I'm not always off sick.
Oh, yes.
They're gonna think